What if the biggest danger in your car isn't on the road, but hidden inside its software? Every update you ignore could be silently costing you safety, performance, and even money. Let me explain. In this video, we'll uncover what really happens if you don't update your car's software, from safety risks you can't ignore, to performance losses, cybersecurity threats, and even the long-term hit on your car's resale value. If you own a modern vehicle, this is something you can't afford to overlook. When we talk about safety in cars, most people think about the obvious. Brakes, airbags, seatbelts. These are tangible, mechanical things that you can see and touch. But what often goes unnoticed is that in today's world, the true guardian of safety is no longer just the hardware, it's the software. The intelligence running silently in the background has become the invisible safety net that protects you on every journey. Ignoring updates to this system is like refusing to repair a cracked foundation in your home. The walls may still stand for a while, but the risk is quietly compounding until the day it finally collapses. Consider this. Modern vehicles are built with advanced driver assistance systems that constantly interpret road conditions, monitor traffic, and even react faster than the human mind can. These systems rely on millions of lines of code, and like any living organism, they evolve. Every update represents a lesson learned from thousands of real-world scenarios: accidents prevented, risks identified, and weaknesses corrected. When you skip those updates, you are essentially freezing your car in time, locking it into yesterday's knowledge, while the world outside continues to change at full speed. Think about how technology ages. The phone in your pocket becomes outdated in just a few years, not because it stops functioning but because it stops adapting. Cars are no different, except here the stakes are infinitely higher. An outdated infotainment system is an inconvenience, but outdated safety software could mean your emergency braking system doesn't respond fast enough when a child runs into the street. It could mean your lane-keeping assist fails to correct in time when you drift on a rainy night. These aren't dramatic hypotheticals, they're the very reasons manufacturers issue safety-related updates in the first place. There's also a psychological dimension. When people neglect updates, they often do it out of complacency, the belief that nothing has gone wrong so far. But history is filled with examples of people who underestimated risks simply because the danger hadn't yet materialized. The absence of failure today is never proof of security tomorrow. The discipline of staying updated reflects something deeper than technology. It reflects a mindset of preparedness, the awareness that protection requires vigilance. Philosophically, this is no different from life itself. Growth demands change, and safety demands adaptation. If you resist the small inconveniences of updating now, you might be inviting catastrophic consequences later. The truth is, safety doesn't announce its absence. It only reveals itself when it's too late, when the system you thought was reliable doesn't react, when the protection you assumed was there falls silent. And by then, regret is the only update you'll receive. So, when faced with a decision to update your car's software, don't think of it as a technical chore. Think of it as the continuation of your car's education, its ability to keep protecting you with the best knowledge available. Because in the end, safety is not something you secure once and forget, it is something you renew constantly. And failing to renew it doesn't just put your car at risk. It puts your life and the lives of those you carry in jeopardy. Every skipped update is a gamble with safety. The question is, are you willing to bet your life on yesterday's protection? Performance is often thought of in terms of horsepower, torque, or acceleration numbers. We imagine the thrill of pressing the pedal and feeling the machine respond instantly. But in reality, the true performance of a modern vehicle lies in something much less visible: its ability to remain efficient, adaptive, and consistent over time. And that performance is deeply tied to its software. When you neglect updates, you don't just risk losing speed or power, you begin to erode the very efficiency that makes the car a balanced and dependable tool in your daily life. Think of a car as a living system. Just like the human body becomes sluggish when it isn't exercised or nourished properly, vehicles too start showing silent signs of decline when they are not given the nutrition of new code. Dates are not arbitrary. They refine how the motor manages energy, how the battery conserves charge, how the regenerative braking system balances power and longevity. Without them, the car's efficiency slips little by little. At first, it may only cost you a few extra miles of range or a fraction of fuel economy. But over time, those small losses compound into a larger problem: wasted energy, higher running costs, and a car that feels like it is aging prematurely. Now consider the psychology of ownership. When people buy a car, especially in today's world of advanced engineering, they expect it to remain sharp, reliable, and responsive. There's pride in driving something that feels modern and up to date. But an unupdated car slowly robs its owner of that satisfaction. You may not notice it in a single day, but one morning you'll realize your vehicle doesn't accelerate as smoothly, doesn't hold charge as efficiently, and doesn't feel as alive as it once did. And the irony is, this decline isn't the fault of the hardware, it's the neglect of simple software attention. Philosophically, this is where the parallel with life becomes obvious. Just as the mind loses sharpness if it stops learning, a car loses its edge if it stops evolving. Efficiency is not a fixed quality. It is a discipline of renewal. Every update is a refinement of performance, a recalibration that allows the vehicle to remain aligned with the world it drives in. Refusing that is no different from choosing stagnation over growth. And then comes the practical reality. Performance declines don't only affect the driver. They ripple outward. A less efficient vehicle consumes more energy, demands more resources, and creates a larger footprint. In essence, skipping updates not only costs you in the long run, it also adds an unseen cost to the world you share the road with. So the choice is simple. Either you allow your car to keep learning, refining, and staying at its peak, or you let it fall behind, slower, less efficient, and more costly with every mile. A machine, like a mind, either evolves or declines. The question is, are you willing to accept mediocrity when excellence is only an update away? In today's world, the car is no longer just a machine made of steel, rubber, and glass. It is a rolling computer, a network on wheels, constantly communicating with satellites, with charging stations, with your phone, and in some cases even with other vehicles. And when you think of it that way, the question becomes clear. What happens when that network is left unguarded? Skipping software updates doesn't simply freeze your car in time, it opens doors that should have remained locked. It creates vulnerabilities, cracks in the armor that hackers, data thieves, or even malicious opportunists can exploit. Consider the sobering reality. Modern vehicles hold your identity, your location history, even your driving patterns. They know where you work, where you shop, when you leave home, and when you return. Without regular security patches, all of that becomes accessible to someone with the skill and the intent to take advantage of it. And unlike a broken headlight or a flat tire, you won't see this danger coming. Cybersecurity weaknesses are invisible until the moment they're used against you. Now let's step deeper into the psychology of neglect. People often underestimate intangible risks because they can't see them. They will wash their car to protect the paint, change the oil to protect the engine, but they will ignore the software that protects their personal life, their safety, and in some cases even their freedom. Why? Because the threat is not physical. It's digital, abstract, and therefore easier to dismiss until the consequences hit. And those consequences can be severe. From cars being remotely disabled to personal data being sold, to safety systems being manipulated at the worst possible moment. Philosophically, it is a lesson about the unseen forces that shape our lives. Just because you cannot see the enemy does not mean the enemy is not real. Ignorance does not cancel risk. It only multiplies it. To ignore cybersecurity updates is to invite the storm while pretending the sky is clear. And the truth is, every line of outdated code is a doorway left open. Every missed update is an opportunity granted to someone who does not have your best interests at heart. Think also of the ripple effect. A compromised vehicle does not only endanger its driver, it can endanger the entire network it is connected to. Hackers do not think in terms of individuals, they think in systems. One vulnerable car becomes a stepping stone to many. And so, by neglecting your updates, you may not only be exposing yourself but contributing to a larger vulnerability in the ecosystem that countless others depend on. This is where the call to action becomes undeniable. Security is not a luxury. It is not optional. It is the foundation on which trust is built, both in technology and in life. When you leave your car unprotected, you are not only risking the machine, you are risking your identity, your safety, and your place in a connected world. The locks are there. The choice to use them is yours. When people think about the cost of owning a car, they usually think about the price they paid at the dealership, the monthly fuel or charging expense, maybe the insurance, and the occasional repair bill. But few pause to consider the hidden costs that creep in quietly, the ones tied not to what you can see, but to what you neglect. Resale value is one of those overlooked areas, and software plays a far greater role in it than most realize. Imagine for a moment, two identical cars rolling onto the used market. Same model, same year, same mileage. One has been faithfully updated, every patch installed, every improvement embraced. The other has skipped years of updates, running on outdated software. Which one do you think will command trust? Which one will signal reliability to a buyer? It's not difficult to see that the car with a clean digital record will always stand taller. The neglected one will raise questions. What else was ignored? What hidden risks am I inheriting if I take this car home? And with those doubts comes a lower offer, a compromised resale value, a cost you never intended to pay but can't escape. Now let's go deeper. Car is not just a machine you use, it's an asset you hold. And every asset either appreciates in perceived reliability or depreciates in distrust. By ignoring updates, you accelerate depreciation. You strip your car of its competitive edge in the market, reducing it not just in price but in desirability. Buyers today are more informed than ever. They know that a vehicle with outdated software isn't just behind in features, it's behind in safety, in performance, in security. That perception becomes reality in the marketplace. Long-term costs follow the same pattern. Every update you skip today often becomes a repair you pay for tomorrow. Software is not separate from hardware. It guides it, optimizes it, extends its life. Neglecting it is like running a powerful engine without ever tuning it. Over time, the small inefficiencies build up into expensive failures. The energy lost, the parts strained, the systems misaligned, all these invisible costs compound until the bill arrives. And by then, it is always larger than you expected. Philosophically, this is a lesson in stewardship. Everything we own, from our health to our tools, asks a simple question. Will you preserve me or will you waste me? When you choose neglect, you are not avoiding cost. You are merely deferring it, allowing it to gather interest in silence until it returns multiplied. A wise person does not fear the small investment of maintenance. They fear the heavy debt of disregard. So when you think of software updates, do not think only of convenience or annoyance. Think of them as a deposit into the future value of your car, a preservation of both your money and your peace of mind. Neglect may appear cheap in the moment, but it is always the most expensive choice in the end. The value you protect today becomes the freedom you keep tomorrow.